Hello, everybody, and welcome back once again to Think Tank Sports. Think Tank Sports, where we think and you listen. Check us out on the socials: Facebook, that thing called X, 10, Twitter, whatever, and Instagram, and listen to us on Spotify for podcasters or wherever you get your podcast. We are out there for your listening pleasure. We are also out there for those of you gluttons who want viewing pleasure. We are on YouTube. So all the podcasts are on YouTube. We've been doing that now, I think, for like a year now almost. So that's kind of scary. Mike and I had talked about doing it for a long time, and then we were like, okay, we're just going to do it. So now it feels like something we just do all the time. Anywho, speaking of things that we do all the time, every week, talk about the National Football League and some interesting games this last week, which was week 8, as Mike pointed out to me last week, not week 7 or week 6 or whatever. But yeah, week 8, some interesting games, interesting storylines. But first and foremost, Mike, how the heck are you?
I'm fine, Dave, but I have to call you out on something and
Oh, here we
hold your
go.
feet to the fire. This is a football podcast, but you've mentioned many, many, many times over the past few years that you are still listening and a fan of Chris Mad Dog Russo.
Yes.
And I'm maybe you're not aware, you probably are. When the Phillies and the Diamondbacks were in the NLCS, he said, if the Diamondbacks win, I will retire. And the fraud, soft, wimpy guy that he is, the Diamondbacks win, and he goes to none other than your boy Howard Stern at 98 years old, can't find him on terrestrial radio, and says, I don't want to retire. I'm going to pussy out of my bat. What am I going to do? And Howard suggests, well, first he suggested some kind of sexual situation with Mike Francesa, but that wasn't going to happen.
No, certainly not.
Uh, that he would Mad Dog would wear a thong and a sign that says "I'm a douchebag" and walk down Broadway in New York City
Yeah.
instead of retiring. I don't care about that part, honestly, but the dude, how can we take him seriously? He didn't live up to his promise. He said, I'll retire. It's like, I'll eat my shirt. It's like these idiot politicians or celebrities that say, if, candidate X gets elected president, I'm moving to Canada or Mexico.
Right.
And Rosie O'Donnell's fat ass is still in California. So, what I'm asking you right here, point blank, in front of our tens of fans and millions on the internet, will you denounce your fandom of Chris Mad Dog Russo in light of this situation, Dave?
No. I my understanding, and
Passionate.
I
That was
didn't,
passionate.
yep, I didn't
No,
follow the whole thing. I thought he had said if the Diamondbacks won in a game 7,
no.
which
When Philly was, when they were even and going to Philadelphia for the last two games, he
yeah,
said it. Yeah.
okay.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Which, seemed like a safe bet. Philly let games 3 and 4 get away, but they're
Yeah,
going
yeah, yeah.
home where they just pound home runs and they had their pitching set up and all of that. And Arizona showed a ton of guts and a ton of just clutch pitching
Yeah.
uh, from their starters and their bullpen. Again, not an NFL subject, but
Oh boy.
let's go back to you're not going to denounce your fandom with him.
Yeah, no. I mean,
Okay.
it's just one of those things. Like I know it's tough because he's such a big personality and so many people pay attention and follow him, but he's doing a radio bit, right? Like
Right.
he's
It's
trying
hyperbole on
he's
purpose. Yeah.
trying to get people to make all these decisions and stuff and do all of that. So yeah, I'm not crazy about it, because I feel like there've been other times where other personalities have said, "Oh, I'm going to do this," and it has come
He called them
true,
out.
and
Right.
and they have done stuff. So, um, yeah. So I think
No,
that part is challenging, um, as far
that
as
is
that goes.
reasonable, though. I mean, the dude's working harder than he ever has, at MLB Network doing his Sirius XM show and ESPN,
Yep.
shown face once a week with that stupid Stephen A show. Uh, all of those things.
Yeah.
But okay, I just wanted to hold your feet to the fire a little on that
Yep.
since you're such a
By all
fan.
means.
But
By all means.
speaking of holding feet to the fire, the struggling Buffalo Bills played last Thursday, Dave, in the
They
Wayback
did.
Machine, and they came out in the first half. It was a tale of two halves for me.
Yep.
They looked like the Buffalo Bills in the first half, and they came
Mhm.
out and they took control, and everything was working. And in the second half, they seemed like they just nursed the lead, and they ended up winning 24-18. It wasn't as close as the score. Tampa kind of got a garbage time touchdown to make it a little closer on the scoreboard. But what were your thoughts and takeaway from that game? Is the ship been righted? Sphincter level 1 to 10.
Yeah.
1 is goose through a duck's bottom, or how was it? Poop through a goose's bottom, or 10 is cutting diamonds. Where is the sphincter level for the Buffalo Bills?
Yeah. I think right now I would say it's probably at a 5. Have they righted the ship completely? No, but they needed to win. They needed to reestablish some sense of offensive continuity, and that's what you saw in the first half. You saw the aggressiveness. They came out and no huddled a lot. It was even reading that some of the Bills players thought that they caught Tampa off guard with how much no huddle that they did.
Right.
And it's good. They should do some of it. Now, do they need to do all of it? No, because what will I point out here? The times in the past few years when they have passed too much, everybody says they need to be able to run the ball. They should run the ball more. So now they, become a little more conservative and run the ball a little bit more. And everybody's like, oh, they should throw the ball more. So they need to do a blend of that. Right. And so coming out in the no huddle is a good thing. And I like it. The defense had good moments as well. I think, overall, it's a good thing. They needed a win. They needed to right the ship a little bit, and they did that. They were able to spread things around, different receivers catching the ball. They were able to run for 115 yards. Just a lot of good, solid pieces to it. And so overall, I think, definitely a lot more happy. Certainly they went through a pretty rough stretch of games. And now they have the extra time, having played Thursday, and they don't play now till Sunday night in a huge, huge showdown game in Cincinnati against the Bengals on Sunday Night Football. Back to the site, where all the Damar Hamlin stuff happened last year. Well, actually, this was in this calendar year, but last season. So there's going to be a lot of emotion around that. So it's good that they're not, coming in on a long losing streak, because that they really could have spiraled right out of the gate from there. So all in all, things are better. They have 427 yards of offense. They only give up 300. Still too many penalties. Still, the 4 straight possessions of punting, to end the game. It's not what you want, Joe Girardi. Right. But overall, good feelings. And, Dalton Kincaid gets his first touchdown. Everybody's really excited about that. And if you didn't see this, I don't know how you didn't, unless you live under a rock. Our wonderful Fitzmagic gets out there and says, if they win, I'll take my shirt off and give Josh Allen a hug, with no shirt on. So he does that. That becomes a huge sideline show, and he's on the Amazon Prime team. So, he's playing that. There's videos of him taking a shot out of a bowling ball before the game. And Fitzpatrick
getting the full Buffalo Bills experience.
Getting the full experience. Anyways, just funny stuff all along the way. But yeah, good feelings as far as the Buffalo Bills.
So trade deadline is tomorrow, recording here on Monday evening.
Yep.
anticipate any transactions by the Bills, or do you have a wish list of positions or people that you might want to see them target? I
Um,
thought of a good tight end to go get.
yeah, I
If
mean,
you,
I think, potentially they might need a tight end.
how
The
about
other
Zach
thing,
Ertz in Arizona? Their season's
yep,
over. Good veteran presence. You
yep.
know, I think Kincaid would still be one, but Ertz could come in and be 1B and really make a positive
Yep.
impact.
Oh, I love Zach Ertz. I've loved him for
Okay.
years. That would be good. The Bills restructured Deion Dawkins' contract to free up some money. Uh, I'm thinking bigger picture too, like defensive line. I don't know who's out there, but they, because of the injuries on the defensive line, they could use another body. Um, you
There
know,
was a lot of talk
Von
in the
Miller is
Giants game about
still,
Leonard Williams' contract. It would be favorable for the Bills to pick up the rest of, the Giants might want to dump some salary and,
wow.
um, yeah,
Are we
would you
really
be happy?
talking dump salary for the Giants at 2-6?
Yeah. Did
Oh
you see
boy.
them? Yeah.
Yeah,
You
well,
didn't see the game?
yeah,
Anyway,
yeah,
we'll get
yeah.
to it.
I mean,
Yeah.
yeah, we'll get to it. Yeah, I mean, certainly, potentially, he's played good the last couple of weeks, and change of scenery could certainly help him. Yeah, I mean, look, if he was
Yep.
available and they don't have to give up, the whole house for it,
No, I would
then
think
yeah,
fourth, fifth round pick, something like that at
yeah,
most. Yeah.
yeah. Yeah, I mean, at this point, I would say players for picks, not players for players. They don't need to
No,
um, you know, gain one and lose one. That's not how they're gonna,
no.
move into the second half of the season. So,
And most
yep,
NFL trades are very rarely player for player.
yeah, yeah. And
But
I haven't seen a lot of scuttlebutt, but like a week earlier they redo the contract, and you start to think, well, maybe
let's
maybe
real
that's what
quick
they're working on.
before we get to my team. Matt Milano, what's his rehab situation? Can he play again this year? If he, is it possible? I guess is my question.
I didn't think that was the case at all. I thought
Done.
he's just done. I mean, you look at Aaron Rodgers was in the first game, Milano a couple weeks later. I
Okay.
can't, with an Achilles, I just can't imagine that he's able to come back.
Oh, I guess I didn't realize it was Achilles. I knew it was a leg situation, but I didn't know it was Achilles.
Yes,
So
I
yeah.
believe it was but yes, it was his Achilles. So at that point,
Okay.
yeah, not going to
So
happen.
maybe there's plenty of good linebackers out there, or maybe you can get somebody off
Yeah,
the scrap heap somewhere. But
yeah. I mean, I feel like
again,
they're okay there. I really think the defensive line depth in some of the games that they've lost,
mm,
um, they just have not been able to keep up the whole game defensive line wise. And that's
right.
been one of their huge strengths. So, Mike, the
Ugh.
battle for New Jersey
The battle that no one wanted to win,
that
Dave.
no one wanted to win. I had a friend at the game who
Uh-huh.
sent me a picture, who was there and said, "Oh my gosh, I can't believe that this battle is coming down to Tommy DeVito against
Ugh.
Zach Wilson." Um,
And the Jets with their third string center.
yeah,
The Giants. All right. Give me some space here. Andrew Thomas, what is wrong with your hamstring? Can you get on the bleeping field? I don't know what the problem is. I understand he's a big asset. You don't want to take a chance, but your quarterback's getting killed. You're losing game after game. You've got Justin Pugh off his couch doing the best he can, uh, and now you got Evan Neal on the other side. So both your starting tackles, big draft picks over the last couple of years, not playing. But why can't we get our stud left tackle on the field with a hamstring since week 1, Dave? We're in week 8, right? Is that where we're at?
yeah, we just got through week 8. Yeah,
Oh my God, I can't stand it. And then we see Waller had a tight hamstring coming into the game. He makes one play and that's it. He goes out. Tyrod Taylor, the big mean green machine, puts him in the hospital overnight for observation. Potential collapsed lung. He pretty much landed straight on the ball. It wasn't really,
yeah, yeah.
much of injury. And we get the Tommy DeVito show. Why would you have a backup quarterback that you don't trust to throw the ball. Now, I know he's the third string quarterback and you don't spend a lot of time,
Sure.
him playing certainly with the ones or even the twos, but even the Giants fans in the fourth quarter, Dave, were chanting, let him throw it, let him throw it. And
Yeah.
finally, in overtime, they ran a couple of play action rollouts where he hit the tight end for 4 or 5 yards, but by that time it didn't matter. And it's just so frustrating. With all of that said, we had the game won like 3 times, and our most steady, and I've called him our team MVP for several years now, Graham Gano,
Absolutely.
screws us at the end with a chip shot field goal that he just shanked it left. I mean,
Yeah.
just
Oh,
badly
and he missed one earlier in the game
and he
too.
missed one early in the game as well. And he's missed a couple now. I mean, we've got to bring in kickers this week. If there's not at least tryouts and pressure put on his job, and be very disappointed.
Well, and it's interesting, Mike. I was reading that there was rumors that he was having some issues with his knee, and then they interviewed Daboll, and Daboll says, yeah, he's okay.
Right. Well, apparently not.
Apparently not. So all of that, knowing that, I don't know if you were going to get to the fourth down. I mean, basically the 4th and 1, the decision to kick there, as opposed to going for it. You've got Saquon Barkley, who's had a monster game with 36 carries for 128 yards. Right. I know Mike has mentioned all of the offensive line issues, but don't you think you've got to try?
They were moving the ball when they knew we had to run, and they were still, like you said, Saquon and Breida when he was in there. Take a chance to win the game on 4th and 1. I mean, it's just not who I thought Daboll was going to be. Okay. Yeah. If I'm being frank, like Joe Judge goes for it there. And I would much rather have Daboll than Joe Judge, but what are we doing? What are we doing? We're here to win.
Yep. And I would agree that that's a point where you would say, let's not even say what game it is. You just say, if it's 4th and 1 and you're down at this situation, what's Daboll going to do? You're going to say he's going to go for it.
Right.
And you'd say that with the utmost confidence. And people who are not Bills fans or Giants fans, people who know him at all and his pedigree, would say that.
Right. Absolutely. So the pass from, first of all, Kayvon Thibodeaux, the one bright spot, 3 sacks, really is blossoming again. Had another early in the game pass right into his hands that he dropped, as you like to say, feet for hands.
Hands like feet.
Yeah. Robster Cross. So that was good. But anyway, the Jets are, running out of time. Wilson underthrows a pass by 10 yards, and Adoree Jackson is just left in no man's land and gets a pass interference call. Thibodeaux gets the sack, and it seems like it's over. And just terrible defense in the last sequence of regular time.
Yep.
The Jets get a big play to Garrett Wilson, and the clock's tick, 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 tick. I would love to argue that the clock expired, but it just didn't. There was there's probably 2 seconds left on it instead of 1. I'd love to say that, but it's just not true. This must be in overtime. And then Greg, the leg Zuerlein, hits his field goal on 1st down. I'm still not now. If you want to argue that kick wasn't good, I could listen to a conspiracy theory about that, because I'm still, when it went past the goalpost, I said, "Oh, he missed it," and then I was wrong.
Yeah.
But it was very high. Another kick where we showed the laser. It was a laser. So disappointing though, Dave, because we just had this game won so many times, and the Jets tried to give it to us. The Jets were doing Jets things, or big penalties that cost them big plays and turnovers. And I mean, they were just doing everything they could to give it to us, and we just wouldn't take it in our own home stadium. I had this text typed up for a group chat, and after Thibodeau's sack in that we all thought ended the game. In fact, you said game over
Yes.
in the group text. And I was going to say something to the effect of, the Giants appreciate the Jets giving them this game, and we consider the lease on the stadium paid in full for the rest of the season as a show of appreciation.
Yeah.
Now, I didn't send because there was still like a minute 13 left or something.
Yeah, minute 12. Yeah.
Yeah, and so I didn't want to sound like an idiot, even though I'm confessing to it here. So I'm glad I didn't send it. But I haven't had such a frustrating game in a long time with these Giants. The effort was there. They're playing with a lot of effort, but coaching decisions. Now it's 2 games in a row that they had or not in a row, but this season they had a 4th and 1 with Saquon Barkley, and they didn't try to get a yard, and it ended up costing them the game. And it's just so frustrating. That's the situation. To have the ability to win a game when you're so beat up, and you got Tommy DeVito playing quarterback, and
Yeah.
it's just mind-boggling that we couldn't pull it off. It's just so I'm speechless, Dave. I don't know what to say. So help me out. Give me some therapy here. Is there a bright spot? Do we send Leonard Williams somewhere? Do we send Adoree Jackson somewhere who's got a big contract? Saquon, could be traded as well.
Yeah.
He doesn't want to be. They, all 3 of them have actually said they want to stay, but they don't have control. This is a business.
Yeah.
Or do we keep playing and waiting for these guys to come back? Daniel Jones has to play next week. We cannot have DeVito and
do we know that Daniel Jones is going to be ready to play?
We don't know.
Yeah.
They haven't said anything as of 6 p.m. on Monday here.
Yeah. So your positives, you mentioned it, Kayvon Thibodeaux was great. The defense the defense has played well the last few weeks, sans some of the issues at the end of the game. You would say, I think anybody would say, if you gave up 13 points in a game, your defense played well. You would also expect to win that game, but it's not like they got torched the whole game. Barkley has come around. I think the big thing is, they've got to have Daniel Jones back. That has certainly affected, and nothing against Tyrod Taylor. He's a good backup. We know he got hurt. He's had a couple of good games. They're not the team. They don't have all the pieces out there that they thought they would at this point. And I think that's, injuries are certainly part of the game, obviously, but yeah, you need Daniel Jones back. I agree.
This was worse than the ass whooping that the Cowboys gave us in the first game.
Yeah.
They just kicked our butt. Okay. Yeah. That happens in the NFL. I could, I got over that one fairly quickly, but this, and probably because it was week 1 and there was a lot of football, and there's still a lot of football ahead of us.
Sure.
But this one really, really is not sitting right with me. So,
yep.
Speaking of the Cowboys, let's move on to them. They just took it right to the Rams. It was 19-0 before I blinked. Ended up being 43-20 in what was a terrible day to be an NFL quarterback. Matthew Stafford gets hurt in this game for the Rams, and it was just ugly from snap 1. I guess the Rams aren't as good as we thought they were after early in the season. They won a couple of games, and Dallas wasn't as bad as we thought they were when they lost their 2 games.
Yep.
Other than that, there's not much to say.
Yeah, no, that's fair. Dak played great, 25 of 31, 304 yards, 4 touchdowns, and an interception. He liked to throw to CeeDee Lamb with the 12 catches, 158 yards, and 2 touchdowns. Yeah, I think that's fair. We knew, I think everybody knew Dallas wasn't as great as they looked at the beginning and wasn't as bad as they were in some of their losses. So this is a good bounce back for them as far as that goes. But yeah, not much more to say there. And again, just of note, the quarterback injuries as they start to pile up, Mike. Another big one in the Vikings-Packers game, right?
Ugh.
So Minnesota goes to Green Bay and plays well and wins 24-10, but the cloud is over the Vikings as Kirk Cousins tears his Achilles and he's out for the year. And he was having a great year again,
Yeah.
despite the fact, and the Vikings now they got themselves to 4-4. But
Just think about that primetime win last week. Everybody's riding high, and they're winning without Justin Jefferson, and he's coming back soon. Like you said, Cousins seemed to gotten over that big game bugaboo. Certainly, the national spotlight games. It's just terrible. Terrible non-contact injury where he just, made a throw and the Achilles popped. It was brutal.
Yeah.
I was really shocked that their backup was this kid Jaron Hall.
Jaron Hall, yeah.
But then I did a little Google search, and they had Nick Mullins, the former 49er, but he's on the PUP list, so he can't come back for 2 more games. It looks like.
Oh.
So they're gonna have to sign somebody quickly, just to back up this kid. I don't know what they're gonna do.
Yeah, he's a rookie,
Jaron
Hall.
Yeah, I don't remember him playing at BYU. Not that I, have the sharpest memory for that, especially that West Coast college team, but still, he's not a name. He's not a Jordan Love or these guys that have come out of BYU, Hill, Tyson Hill, all those guys. But
Zach Wilson.
That being said, on the other side of the ball, boy, speaking of Love, he's not good. He's not good.
This just in, no good.
Yeah. Dan Orlovsky broke down some tape today on Get Up, and he's just the best point he made was he was comparing him to Brock Purdy. And Brock Purdy is reading the defense before the snap, making his adjustments, and knowing pretty much where he's going with the ball when he gets in his hands.
Yep.
Love is still looking at the defense with the ball in his hands, and you just don't have that much time in the NFL to do that.
Nope.
Right. So by the time you make your adjustments and try to, fake your shoulders one way and go the other way, you're going to get sacked, or it's just too late. Now, it's early in his career. Yes, he's a third-year player, but this is his first 8 games he started. I wouldn't say they're ready to give up on him, but they might have to start thinking about it if it continues to decline this way for Green Bay.
Yeah,
and they can't. I don't understand why they don't run the ball better. With Dillon and who's my boy, Aaron Jones.
Yeah, Aaron Jones. Yep.
They get 17 rushes for 74 yards. That's just not
getting it done.
Green Bay, right. He cannot. Jordan Love cannot have 41 pass attempts and then be successful.
Yeah.
So all of a sudden that NFC Central is just Detroit's to walk away with. They're playing tonight against the Raiders, but the Bears are terrible. The Vikings are going to be terrible, and Green Bay is mediocre at best. So
Green Bay's lost 4 in a row now. The Vikings have won 3 in a row, but again, when you think about the Cousins injury, hard to say what's going to happen with them.
Where else you want to go, buddy?
Yeah.
AFC East, Dolphins, Patriots.
Yeah, I mean, there's really not much to say there. The Dolphins, flexing their muscles, doing what they do.
Tyreek Hill goes deep. That's what I mean.
Yeah, 3 touchdowns for Tua. They're 6-2. They're 4-0 at home. They're doing what they need to do. So not really a whole lot to say there as far as that goes. You see your Jaguars play well enough against the Steelers with another quarterback. Kenny Pickett gets hurt. So now he's out, and you got Trubisky back in there. But, and the Jaguars 6-2, and,
winners of 5 in a row going into the bye week this week. So, they're feeling pretty good about themselves as well. They should be. Although they scored 3 field goals early, and at least 2 of them should have been touchdowns. They just got bogged down, but then they hit a great pass to
Yeah.
ATN up the sideline for 56-yard
Yeah.
uh, pass
Yep.
touchdown, and that kind of sealed the deal. And Pittsburgh just could not get anything going offensively.
Nope.
Trubisky, 15 for 27, 138 yards, a touchdown, and
138
two interceptions. Now he's
Yeah.
playing, you're playing comeback football and you're trying to take a chance or two, but boy, what was Pickett's injury to you? It was ribs, I believe, right?
Yeah. Yeah. Yeah.
Yeah. So hopefully they can get him a flak jacket and get him back out there. But I think, if you, and I hope you did watch Lose With Us last week, Stevie Covers asked both of us, are the Steelers good? And we both said no. And that this kind of validated that for me.
Yep.
Anyway.
Yep. I think so. Oh, what else? The later games. Got to talk about the
I got to give some
Broncos.
love to the Titans in the early game
Okay,
first.
go ahead and do that.
Yeah, I mean, Will Levis comes out. 2 years ago, he was the best quarterback in the country at Kentucky. Didn't have, got injured last year, and really kind of a dud of a final season there. Slipped down the draft board, a la Aaron Rodgers. Even I think went out of the first round to get drafted by the Titans as the first pick of the second round. But he comes in and
Yep.
really does what he's supposed to do. 19 for 29, so he wasn't, tasked with 40 more attempts. 238, 4 touchdowns, Dave. I mean,
Yeah.
what can you do? And Derrick Henry, this is the formula. Derrick Henry touches the ball 22 attempts for 101. Ball control, play action pass with Will Levis.
Yep.
Kind of, all of a sudden the Titans at 3-4, kind of feisty now. I mean, it's one game. He's a rookie. I understand that. I'm not gonna, put a gold jacket on him yet, but seemed to be the right move. On the other side of the ball, the Falcons bench Desmond Ritter at halftime, and they go to old friend
Taylor
Taylor
Heineke.
and he immediately comes in and they score 2 touchdowns under his one passing and one rushing, but he has some big throws. 12 for 21, 175 and a touch. And he's going to start going forward with the weapons they have offensively, with Kyle Pitts and Drake London, all those guys, Bijan Robinson, of course, in the backfield. He could produce with them. We saw when he was at Washington, he is not afraid to let it fly. He's got nothing to lose. He's living his dream, so good for him. I feel bad for Desmond Ritter, but this was his ceiling all along,
Yeah.
Out of college, this was his ceiling, and he took his talent and his opportunity as far as he could. And I would be surprised, unless of injury, if he gets back out there this season.
Yep. Yeah. No. Well said. The
that,
Falcons 4-4, tied with the Saints, who won. So they're 4-4 as well in what we knew was going to be a mediocre NFC South.
Saints, Colts, and Saints were down early, and then they came storming back and won 38-27. So, that division is putrid for sure, and it'll be interesting to see who prevails there. I don't believe. I don't know. It's hard to say. Yeah, it's hard to say. It's hard to. I wanted to say I don't believe in the Falcons. I just made a case for Heineke and all the weapons. I don't know if they have the defense.
Yeah.
I gunned ahead, which is a terrible expression we should probably get away from.
Yeah.
I would say the Saints are going to win that division, but it's not. I don't have a lot of confidence, and even if they do, they're not going anywhere.
Yep. Nope. They're just, whoever wins the division is just a placeholder for the playoffs, really.
Yeah. Good call. All right,
okay.
buddy. Eagles Commanders was an interesting game.
Yep.
I can't figure the Commanders. Did they just play the Eagles well? Because they really looked like crap last week against the Giants.
Yeah.
But two of the, they played hard and were right in this game. Jalen Hurts, they're the one play to Brown was maybe one of the best catches and touchdowns you'll see this season. So you should look that up. Sam Howell's throwing the ball all over the place. 39 for 52,
Yeah.
397 for Howell.
Is 52 throws from Sam Howell how they want to win the game? Now, I guess maybe if you have Eric Bieniemy there, he may.
Right.
That's, maybe what they want to do, but I can't imagine. Well, I shouldn't say that.
The shocking part for me is the line blocked that Philadelphia front.
Yeah.
The week before, the Giants had 5.
One sack on Sam Howell.
The Giants the week before had 5 sacks all season. They got 6 in the game against the Commanders.
Yeah.
And then the next week they're blocking arguably one of the best defensive fronts in the league like that. And Howell proved if he's got time, he can sling it around. So yeah. I don't know. I cannot figure the Commanders at all. I still don't think the Eagles have been playing their best football, which is scary.
Yeah. Agreed.
But, interesting NFC East battle. What else, buddy?
Yeah, Denver, Kansas City, Mike.
Speaking of teams that own other teams, Denver just plays Kansas City tough. They just do. It's just one of those deals.
Even though they had lost 16 straight to the Chiefs before winning.
Didn't they beat them earlier in the season too?
Nope. They had lost 16,
lost a close game.
Yes, 16 in a row.
Okay.
So they hadn't won. Yes, they hadn't won there they hadn't won against the Chiefs since 2015.
The Raiders that always play the Chiefs tough.
Yes.
I knew it was something in that division.
So, not a great game by any stretch as 24-9, Patrick Mahomes, he got sick and had flu-like symptoms from his wife and kids from earlier in the week. Nobody's going to cry about that. But 4 turnovers for the Chiefs, then a muffed punt, a turnover on downs. Denver just pushed all the right buttons, 153 yards rushing, 3 touchdown passes from Russell Wilson. And the Broncos get, their biggest win of the year. Is it going to change the team? Probably not. They're 3-5, but look, this for other teams in the AFC, for the Chiefs to lose this kind of game, looking at my Bills, but every other team, like, this is a good thing because they lost a conference game, and you're going to hear me harp on that until the season is over.
Until the cows come home.
Yep. Until the cows come home. This is a big loss.
This is a trap game in the sense of we should beat these guys, and we have to fly to Germany for some reason to play the Dolphins next Sunday. Which is, and Dave, I know you don't want to talk about it, but T Swizzle was not at the game. And the Broncos did a great job trolling the Chiefs every time they scored, playing Shake It Off or another Taylor Swift song. I'm here for the trolling. Okay. I agree. I don't think it should be talked about too much, but I'm here for the Denver PA announcer and whoever's in charge of the music doing that. Sorry.
Good for you. No comment from me.
Okay, fair enough.
But yeah.
What do you think about the Germany thing, though? Do you think, we're going to talk about, next week's games, but
yeah,
I think the Chiefs are looking ahead to that game.
I don't necessarily think so. They're entitled to have a letdown game here or there. I know I said this is a conference game, but I don't think the Chiefs are going to be all that, been out of shape about it. And they'll go to Germany and probably play really well against the Dolphins. So that will be an interesting matchup next week. Speaking
of teams that are struggling in interesting matchups, the Bengals and Niners.
Yeah.
The Bengals just put it on 31-17. I like the Bengals going into the game. I don't have any guts to put any of my money where my mouth is on that one. I just think they're trending in the right. Burrow is healthy. And the thing Burrow did was scramble. And,
and some designed runs too.
Exactly.
So
with a healthy calf, it really made a difference. When the Niners emptied out that middle of the defense, just took advantage of it. It didn't. me see what his actual numbers were, but he
I got
didn't.
his 28 of 32. Oh, that the passing numbers. Yeah, 28
Right.
of 32, but his
Six for
rushing
43.
numbers,
Yeah.
yeah.
So it wasn't like, a Lamar Jackson, Josh Allen type running game for him, but still, those were six huge moments, I'm sure, at least most of them,
Oh yeah, I
for
mean
first downs.
there was
Right.
one that a couple of them where he, made some moves in the pocket where he was going to get sacked and was able to get out and get away. Um, at one point, Mike, it was either 16 or 17 straight completions on top of that. He only missed 4 passes in an entire game, Joe Burrow. So
Right.
when you're going to have that kind of efficiency and do it against one of the best defenses in the league, you're going to win football games. Um, but
Yeah.
Cincinnati,
Now the nine.
they still they're still looking up.
Sure.
They're
Sure.
tied for second place, but Cleveland, Pittsburgh, Baltimore, all ahead of them. So they still have some work to do, but they are definitely trending up. What about the San
Yeah.
Francisco 49ers, Mike?
They're trending down, dude. 3
Yep.
losses in a row. Ultimately, they're going to be fine. They played without Deebo Samuel. They played without Trent Williams at left tackle. Um, you know, um, Brock Purdy was hurt all week, didn't practice. All of those things sure contributed. But I was surprised the way their defensive line got pushed around by
Yep.
the Bengals offensive line. No pressures. No, it was very interesting to see that. And I watched a lot of the post game in this, and the Niners all said, "Yeah, this sucks." They're going into their bye as well. Didn't want to lose 3 in a row going into a bye.
Mm-hmm.
But they'll regroup. They're professionals. I of all the teams to have this little mini slump in the NFC, this is one that I'm least worried about probably. Now, of
Yeah.
course, they have to come out of the bye and make some statements, but they still have their whole season ahead of them for sure, especially in a weaker NFC than AFC. What else? Was there a Sunday night game that I fell asleep to? Oh yeah, the Chargers Bears.
Yep. Not really
That happened.
much to say. Yeah. Yeah. The Bears lose again.
All right,
Um,
Dave. I'm going to put you on the spot again
all right.
before we get into next week's schedule.
Okay.
Give me 5-1 your power rankings in the AFC only. And while you're thinking about that, I'll run down some
Meaning
numbers.
top 5, 5, 4,
Top
3, 2,
five
1.
teams, 5-1. You have the Dolphins at 6-2, Bills at 5-3,
Yep.
Ravens at 6-2, Jaguars at 6-2, Chiefs at 6-2. I think you have to put the Bengals and the Browns both in there at 4-3, and the Steelers, I guess you have to consider 4-3. Really nobody else in the South, nobody else in the West. The East, Dolphins and the Bills. I don't think the Jets or Patriots are contenders you'd want to consider. So the entire AFC North, the Dolphins and the Bills, the Jaguars and the Chiefs. Give me your top 5, your 5-1 power ranking. Playing the best right now. This is what I want to know. Power rankings are based on playing the best through week 8. Where are we?
Yeah, then that leaves a struggle for me with the 5 spot.
Okay.
I mean, playing the best. I guess I put the Bengals in there. So
Yep.
Cincy at 5, Jacksonville at 4, Baltimore at 3, Miami at 2, Kansas City at 1. I could be convinced to flip flop Miami and Kansas City. Baltimore has been lights out. Jacksonville has been really good. The Bills, you look at the team, the numbers and everything, but I would say right now the Bengals are playing better.
Right. I think if we were making it based on who's the biggest threat to be the Super Bowl representative for the AFC, there would be a different set of teams based on where they've been in future.
Yeah.
I'm very curious why you have the Ravens 3 and the Chiefs 1. I'd almost swap them, and I hate to say that about the Ravens, but they're just crushing people. And what they did
are
to Detroit means a lot to me last week. Um, they are 4-1 on the road,
Yeah.
which is impressive. They're let's see, their point
It's
differential. Well,
plus
they've
81.
yeah.
Yep. I mean,
Um, I mean,
it's
obviously the Dolphins numbers are gaudy when you get into all that too.
yeah, yeah. I just
But
yeah, I mean, I guess I
okay,
think about Kansas City being the defending champion and
right.
um, you
And
know,
and it makes sense based on what you just said about their game. They're allowed to have a letdown. So,
yeah,
um,
yeah.
so maybe this Germany game will go a long way in possibly changing that.
Oh yeah, I mean, look, it's going to define whoever is there. Obviously, you want to see what Baltimore does, and obviously Jacksonville on the bye. But yeah, this is those two teams vying for the top spot in the AFC. Right now, both teams 4-1 in the AFC. So
Okay.
same conference record. So this will be a big game as far as home field advantage. Um, Ravens and Jaguars already with 2 conference losses. So whoever loses this game will fall into that mix as well.
I'll give it the NFC since you asked so nicely.
Okay.
For me, at 5, I have to put the Niners.
Yep.
5-3, 4-1 in conference. That really puts them ahead of the Falcons for me as far as um, how they're playing right now. 4, I would have to say. Let me see if I make sure I get this right.
Seattle.
Yeah, I have to put. Have to again. 4-1. They're 5-2. 4-1 in the conference. 2-1 on the road. 3-1 at home. I hate it, but they're playing well. They
Yeah.
really are. 3 is Dallas.
Yep.
5-2. But they're only 2-2 in the conference, so that keeps them out of the 2 spot for me.
Yep.
And then 2 would be Detroit, 5-2, 4-1 in the conference, and then you have to have the Eagles at 1.
Yep.
That's 7-1. You just can't, and 5-0 in the conference.
Yep.
So they're, even though we just agreed that they're not playing their best football,
they're still playing the best in the NFC,
which is scary, right? So
yeah.
One more. Let's see if we can stump the Dave here. Total passing yards in the NFL. What quarterback is leading the league in total passing yards?
Oh, it's Kirk Cousins.
Nope. It's Tua Tagovailoa.
Oh, he must be second. I think that was one I saw.
Cousins
He's second. I think he's first in passing touchdowns.
Yes, I believe you're right. Tua, Cousins, Mahomes, Josh Allen, and Sam Howell is 5th in yards.
Yeah, he's had some big games. Games.
What about rushing yards? I'm only doing this to rub this guy's in your face.
Wow. Yeah, I'm at a loss, which is crazy.
Yeah, Christian McCaffrey's 1 at 652.
Oh, yeah, he's been really good.
Number 2, Zachariah Moss.
Oh,
Colts, 589.
Yep, he's been good.
ATN's 583, DeAndre Swift 571, and Derrick Henry 526. So
yeah.
Receiving yards real quick.
It's Tyreek Hill. He's got over 1,000 in 8 games, trying to do 2,000. Apparently, that's his goal.
Wow. So 1,014, second place. Any idea?
Jalen Waddle.
No. Good guess though. I like that. AJ Brown.
Oh, geez, AJ Brown.
Eagles 939. Puka Nacua, 3rd with 795. Stephon Diggs, never heard of him, 748. And DJ Moore of the Bears at 691 is in 5th place.
Yeah, well, he had that one huge game.
Right. So I will throw a defensive one, and since we're talking sack leaders, do you have any idea? If I told you it was a Minnesota Viking that's leading the league in sacks, would that help you at all?
No.
Danielle Hunter, 10 sacks.
Oh, good for him.
Vikings, linebacker. The other Josh Allen for the Jaguars at 9. Myles Garrett at 8.5.
Yep.
Kayvon Thibodeau at 8.5, and TJ Watt at 8.5. So
Yeah.
three of them tied for
Close
third.
competition there.
Yeah, for sure. So I just thought that was interesting to take a look at after 8 games,
Yep.
that kind of thing. What do you like for next week? We talked
Oof.
about the Germany game. So the
Yeah.
Germany game's at 9:30 a.m. our time. Is that right?
Yes, that is correct. NFL Network.
Okay.
Yeah, lots of juice. You have Thursday night as Tennessee at Pittsburgh. Obviously Buffalo, Cincinnati. Sunday night, you have Seattle at Baltimore in the
Good
early
game.
slate.
Litmus test for Seattle for sure.
Yeah. Is it, I mean, it's Minnesota, Atlanta. It's not great, but it's 2 4-4 teams. See what happens with Minnesota.
Right. You could have Heineke starting his first game for the Falcons. Whoever's starting for the Vikings, it'll be their first start. You
Yeah.
know.
Yep.
Who is my boy that played quarterback for the Vikings when he hit Stephon Diggs for the miracle to beat the Saints?
Oh, geez. How come I can't think of who that
I
was?
can't think of his name either, but they should bring him back.
They should bring him back.
Yeah, why not?
You have Dallas
picture.
at Philly in the Sunday 4:25 slot. So there's a couple of really big and good games this week.
Yep.
With
There's
a
some
lot
real
of,
crappy games in between.
well, sure. Yeah, certainly.
Commanders, Patriots. You
Commanders,
couldn't pay me to watch
Patriots.
that. Colts, Panthers. As Don LaGreca at FAN would say, if it was in my backyard, I wouldn't open the curtain to watch.
Yeah. Oh, I've heard
Panthers.
the Mad Dog say that as well. I wouldn't even watch it
Yeah.
if this game was being played in my backyard. Monday night, Mike.
Is he
The
wearing a thong when he
Chargers.
says that? Sorry.
Chargers at the Jets.
It'll be a fun game. Jets have a good defense. Chargers claim to have a good offense. That could be fun.
It's low scoring. The
Yeah.
Jets defense is not going to let the Chargers do anything.
And then bye weeks are Niners, Jaguars, Broncos, and Lions. So weird that there were no byes this week. I don't know. I can't figure the schedule out.
Yeah. I don't know.
Yeah, interesting for sure. Will you get up to watch the Germany game or just?
It's 9:30. I'm usually up way before that. The question is, do I turn in? Yeah. I mean, I think I want to put it on. It's such a big game. It's just, these games are crazy. I get that they, want to put games there, but when you do things like Buffalo and Jacksonville, and then you do Miami and Kansas City, those are games that really need to be played in the United States. Take Seattle and Baltimore this week, an NFC versus an AFC, and put them in those games. Do not take critical conference games and put them across the pond, if you will. I'm just not a big fan of that. I'm sure they would
say, if we want an international crowd and we want to grow the game internationally, then we want to show them our best, and we're going to put good matchups over there. But I'm with you. You can put good matchups over there without having it be these critical matchups. I don't know how far ahead though they had to plan this Germany trip. Probably a couple of years. So maybe they didn't know if Miami was going to be good.
No, I mean they announced the games, in the last year. It wasn't like they had that game picked, because they had a huge announcement.
True.
About who was playing in these international games before the schedule came out.
Because you can't really know the schedule until everyone finishes the year before and how it all lines up. So that's a good point.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yep.
Sounds good. Speaking of good points, many of them were made tonight. A couple of them by Dave and mostly by me. But either way, we had a good time talking to you about the Mad Dog and about NFL football. Despite of my disgust for the Giants, Dave's Bills seem to get right a little bit, and we're going to certainly follow them all closely, and the international games, everything NFL all the time here. It is the season for sure. But don't forget to check out the World Series. Still baseball fans, they're compelled. I mean, the last game was 9-1, so okay, that wasn't a great game, as far as tension, but a clash in styles for sure. And now they're going to Arizona, which is huge ballpark, Pitchers Park.
Yep.
So the power numbers will be down. It'll be interesting to see if Texas can play a little small speed ball with some of their players and go from there. Also, college football, is compelling. You got the first official rankings coming out this week. So, the playoff picture is going to start shaping up nicely. Follow that as well. And we will continue to do so. We'll report back to you here at Think Tank Sports, where we think and you listen as we strive for 5. Good night, everybody.
See ya.
Peace.